been told that very well.
And this fella seems to be, a little bit more brusque. So,
He tells it like it is.
yeah, but I don't like to be told like it is sometimes.
We talked about it personality.
Went to different doctors till I found one that agreed with me, and that's why I go to Shetta.
I don't know. It's the best kind. It's the first I'd heard about it.
Yeah, used to have that.
Is that how you got married, Bob?
What's that?
Finally, a woman agreed with you?
Everybody else said no, so that's all I felt sorry for me.
How you doing, young man?
How much money do we get for lease from Nordic Anybody knows?
Scott would.
Scott Jones.
We went to Arnie Jarvis.
They didn't tell us exactly. They just they said it would be just a minor amount. So I don't.
Yeah, every little minor amount.
Yeah, that adds up. I know. But I say they never did tell us the exact dollar.
I'm glad to see that there's caveats that the personnel committee looks at and stuff like that.
But right past my house. Right on the corner. Yeah. No. Yeah, they told us about it. Blacktop driveway. Yesterday.
Debbie Ruth, too much power.
Just in case Mark O'Connell's late, I guess we can do.
Guess my microphone's on, I bump.
I don't remember when was the last time they were here? They were here.
Yeah.
He's his neighbors, he's just gonna help him. Well, yeah, it's for sale.
Well, then it's up to them.
And they have to come.
That's what we do at our.
Half our meeting, is that what he's telling us?
I read this.
It's up to him? Yeah, it's up to him, we're out of here.
Reality than it is the issues. We didn't have, he came to the town board, we didn't have a problem. Okay, we'll call the Waushara County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is roll call.
Mrs. Krentz? Here. Mr. Heisey?
Here.
Mr. Tim?
Here.
Mr. Piaski?
Here.
Mr. Eckstein?
Here.
Mr. Weddy?
Here.
Mrs. Plata is excused. Mr. King?
Here.
Mr. Waddle?
Here.
Mr. Crawford? Here. Mark Kirschner?
Here. We'll now have silent prayer and pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is public comments. The first one to speak, Dennis Plants.
Well, I'm certainly here tonight to,
Can you turn the microphone on? Just switch it on, please. Thank you. Trying to save batteries.
there we go.
Thanks.
Better? Certainly want to get an opportunity for you to get a chance to put a face with a name, and certainly the same for me. I certainly am honored to be here. I'm certainly honored that the governor had appointed me to come back home. I don't know if any of you know, some of you know me. My parents actually ran a supper club just outside of the city limits here in Wautoma. So I'm very familiar with washing dishes and bussing tables and things like that, working in a supper club. But, you know, the one thing working in a family business that it did do is give me a work ethic. So what I can say is I'm just very pleased to be able to come back home. And not only myself, I have my lovely wife, Ellen, sitting back there. Have 2 sons, Cameron and Ryan. Both of them are in college right now, and we're very proud of them. But the one thing to look at you is to say that I'm all about partnering, coming together, using the resources that are out there, and get everybody pulling in the same direction. And certainly you're part of that team as well. So I look at you for guidance and direction within the Sheriff's Department, law enforcement, emergency services, and I am just looking forward to the opportunity to roll up my sleeves and get back here to Waushara County, and certainly not only to meet your expectations, but certainly hopefully to exceed them. So I'm looking forward. We'll hang around until the end of the meeting, and certainly if you want to take a minute to say hi, and I'll introduce you to my lovely wife. So thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Next person, Jeff Nett.
Good evening. A couple of things I wanted to mention. First off, congratulate Dennis on his appointment. I was also in the running, and Dennis and I have talked. I'm going to stay on, and I'm going to work with Dennis to make the transition and to work and continue to make their department one of the finest in the state. But I am, and Dennis does know what I am going to run for the election, so we'll have a spirited election this summer. But I also here to give you an update. After the first of the year, the administrative staff of the Sheriff's Department started working with Jeremy Becker from EMS, Deb, and we're starting on the implementation of the emergency medical dispatching. We've started with contact with the company, and we're in the process of getting that off the ground. We had another conference call today, and we're starting to get a better timeline established and what's all involved with this. It's going to take a while, but we are working on it. And if there's any questions on that, Deb can probably help out too, as she's been part of this. So we are moving forward with it, but it is a project. I am taking the lead on it, and Jeremy and I are working towards getting this going. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Next person, David Peterson.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you tonight at this board meeting. I appreciate your individual efforts and empathize with the tough decisions that you are expected to make as a board. I would like to address specifically Resolution 1114, which is on your agenda tonight. I'm respectfully requesting that you either remove it from your agenda or table it indefinitely. There are a multitude of reasons for this request, and I won't bore or confuse you with all of them. First of all, I want to remind you that I was not hired by you to run a department. I was elected by the citizens of Waushara County to serve them as a constitutional officer of the state of Wisconsin and work with you to provide law enforcement services. This included all of the people, whether we agreed with them or not, whether they voted for us or not. Despite the opinions of some, I took that responsibility seriously, and although I could not make everyone happy, I believe I fulfilled that responsibility with integrity to the best of my ability. Having not been invited to personally receive this recognition reduces its value and meaning, in my eyes, to nothing more than a self-serving attempt by some members of this board to make a public record that does not accurately reflect their feeling toward me personally or the respect for the office of sheriff, as they demonstrated by attempting to micromanage and or work behind the scenes to advance their personal agenda. I respectfully request that my representative on this board, at a minimum, requests that any official action taken on this resolution be done by a roll call vote. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Next thing on the agenda is we need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion made by Bob Wadle, seconded by Larry Crawford to approve the agenda. Any further discussion on it or not? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes from prior meeting, how do you find? Motion made by Larry Crawford, seconded by Bernadette to approve the minutes as written. Is there any questions or discussion on the minutes? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Old business, we have none. New business. Reports and presentations. County strategic planning. Are they here? All yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Administrator, members of the body. I wasn't actually late. We were here on time, but it was such a refreshing, nice evening out, we checked all the doors of the building, and we found the one that was open. We're here tonight to talk about strategic planning. I'm Mark O'Connell, Executive Director of the Wisconsin Counties Association. I am your employee, the lobbying organization in Madison that tries to accomplish whatever it is you wish to get accomplished. With me tonight is my colleague Mike Blaska, in the back of the room, our Chief of Staff with the association, and is engaged in some strategic planning as well. And then a private consultant, Diane Shamness from Shamness Consulting. And if I could, Mr. Chairman, I think a back and forth conversation would be most productive, but let me lay out some things about strategic planning. Number one, I applaud you if you are considering engaging in strategic planning. It takes an awful lot to look at ourselves in the mirror, be honest about where we are, put the time, effort, and energy into determining where it is we want to go, what kind of community we want to have in Waushara County, what kind of a place we want to have for the next generation and generations we're never going to see. And then to do the really hard work of determining what is in the way from where we are to where we want to be, and how we are going to maneuver and overcome the barriers that are in the way from the community that we want. Not every county is engaging in strategic planning, but I will say this. The entities, not just in Wisconsin, but around this nation, that engage in futuristic thinking, in determining what the future is going to be before the future gets there, in designing what kind of a community they desire, are going to be far, far ahead of those that do not. Those that do not are going to react to the community that others determine. If you engage in a strategic planning effort, whatever that might be, and it takes many, many different forms, shapes, and sizes, whatever that might be, it gives you the advantage of playing a role in creating the kind of society, the kind of county that you want. Now, it will be difficult. It will take a lot of effort. You will have to incorporate lots of people, department heads, community leaders, education people, and obviously you, leadership in the county. But if you do that, and you'll have a lot of help, if you do that, you are in an incredibly advantageous position. I've been to Waushara County many, many, many times. It's been a long time since I appeared before your board, but I've been here many times. You have an awful lot to offer. It's a beautiful place. You have hardworking people. You have smart kids. You have the potential for tremendous growth. We would like to get more industry in, but we want to maintain our pristine waters and our environment. You have lots of competing interests, and a strategic planning effort that takes into account that which you want, that which we want to preserve, and that which you desire but you don't yet have, gives you a chance to actually do that. Lack of strategic planning means that you might get some by accident. You might get it by moving from decision to decision to decision. Some will conflict with others, but there is no overall plan, grand strategy. I would give you this example. If you engage in a strategic planning, visioning effort, designing the type of county that you wish to have for you and generations that follow, then that means each decision you make can be measured against the county you desire. And quite frankly, if you do that, the decisions you make become easier because it is not simply a today decision. It's a decision that will impact the county tomorrow, 5, 10, 20, 50 years into the future. And that makes it easier. The everyday pressures of a decision on a specific issue of a today nature, they don't go away, but they become minimal because you have a grander plan. You're moving in a particular direction to create the society you desire. The Counties Association here is here to assist you. We will engage in whatever role you desire if you engage in strategic planning. I offered you Diane Shamness as a potential consultant to assist you because she has done it before. She understands counties very, very well. She's engaged in hundreds and hundreds of strategic planning efforts for public entities and private entities. And in doing so, in having that knowledge, having that experience, there's no learning curve. You're not going to pay a consultant to get up to speed on what counties are all about and what we do. She already knows that. In addition, we have negotiated a very attractive price for strategic planning in regard to county government. And that's one of the reasons that I offered Diane Shamness tonight. With that, Mr. Chairman, I don't want to take up too much time, but if it pleases the body, we could engage in a conversation, and if I could ask Diane to join me, then we can both try to address any issues or focus on areas that you have interest.
Any questions?
Oh, please, there must be some. Please, give us an opening. Ask us anything.
Can you tell us some of the counties that are in strategic planning process right now?
Sure.
Or have been recently?
Wapaka is doing some strategic planning effort. Marathon County has engaged in a strategic visioning effort even a couple of years ago. Adams County has engaged in a strategic planning, strategic thinking effort. Calumet County, Brown County has done this. There are some southeast counties, I believe Racine and Kenosha, but that's an ongoing effort. But it is not geographic specific, and it is not size specific. You'll have a Brown County, populous county, and then you'll have an Adams County, very different in population, very different in lots of ways. But those two counties have one thing in common. They want to design, they want to have a role in what their county looks like in the future. So they've engaged in two different kinds of efforts, but both equally beneficial to the individual counties.
Mark, we've had a lot of counties that have engaged strategic planning, Jefferson County, St. Croix County, several others.
Do you find that when you go through this process that your budgeting becomes easier because you have direction?
Well, I think every decision you make, I shouldn't say every decision, but the vast majority of decisions will be measured against, does this fit the strategic plan? Are we moving closer to the county we desire? And if the answer to that is yes on any particular issue, on any budget item, on the overall budget, then great, we'll vote in favor of that. What you will find in a strategic planning effort is that on an individual item where you would otherwise have looked at it and voted no, because of the existence of the strategic plan and the vision that you have created along with other partners in the community, you end up voting yes. Or conversely, I mean, you would normally have approved something, but because it doesn't fit the strategic plan and where you want to go, you'll end up voting no. But you'll be comfortable with that. You'll also find that individuals with whom you've had previous disagreements, all of a sudden you agree with, because you're looking at something not as a today issue, not as a conflict for today, but as a we need to work together to move in that direction, toward that which we painted, that which we desire, that which we worked on with our education community and business community and the citizen leaders, the civic communities, civic leaders. That you'll find that.
I would add to that.
Yeah.
If a vision statement, which is really kind of it's a descriptive of what you want your county to be at some point in time, if that's done well, and that's kind of the crux of the whole process, then the planning becomes very easy. But also as things come forward, ideas, developments, something new wants to happen out over here, your vision should provide the basis on which to make that decision. So it makes decision making about how you want to move, and as ideas or opportunities are presented, it helps you to make clear decisions about whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing. And that applies to your budget, of course. So.
Let me give you a specific example. The vast majority of counties in Wisconsin are facing a demographic nightmare. We are getting old really, really quick. We have a relatively low per capita personal income in this state compared to the Midwest and the nation. If we are going to gain, if we are going to move forward economically, we need a lot more smart young people staying where we grow them, and we need to grow a lot more. And further along those lines, this. If you want to keep your 20-somethings in Waushara County, and you do not have the availability of, let's say, high-speed broadband internet, you're not going to keep them. They're going away. And those are the wealth makers of tomorrow. Those are the people that we need staying, making a lot of money, bringing their ideas, creating vibrant activity, economic input. We want them. So in part, we need to look 5, 10, 20, 50, 80 years into the future, take a look around at what that environment looks like, determine if we like it or not. If we don't like it, then change it today so we don't have it. Or if we do like it, do more of it. And I could give you 100 examples of types of things that we ought to be engaged in if we are going to prepare ourselves or position ourselves for future success. Stumbling, I mean, you might sense I'm a fan of strategic planning. I am. And I really don't care what your plan ends up being, just that you do it, that you think about the future and you create the future you desire. I don't care what it is. You may desire that the future you want is 100% agricultural. We don't want people moving in here. We don't want any industry going on here. You may want that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a fine strategic plan. There's not a bad thing at all. If that's what you want, then we need to take action to create that. You may decide we want a lot more younger families here. We want a more vibrant urban areas. We want some industrial parks with small, clean businesses moving in here. All right, if that's what you want, then we need to look and determine, do we have the things necessary to create that? If we don't, then we identify what those things are and we engage in them. We create them. If we already have them, we need to strengthen them. Things of that sort. We would go through that in a strategic planning effort. Looking at the future is not overly difficult. It really isn't. Human beings are incredibly predictable creatures. We know what humans are going to do long before they know what they're going to do. In large masses, we can predict very accurately. If you take out medical technology and technology generally, we can predict what humans are going to do a long time into the future. Knowing that, we can position ourselves for future success depending upon what it is, how we define that success. Now, it's a long answer, Deb, but other thoughts, comments, questions, perspectives? Ask us anything related to this or even unrelated to this.
The department heads actually have been talking about this for a while as something that we would want to take on as a group. We certainly would want county board supervisors to participate in that. We've kind of gotten into a habit of looking at budget 1 year at a time, and to me that's not a wise decision. I think we need to be looking out further. When I started here 26 years ago, I had Gordon Krentz and George Sorensen and Roger Wagner as my guides, and we always looked out 5, 10, 15 years, always. So this has been very difficult for me to be looking at things 1 year at a time. I just don't think that's a wise decision on our part.
You know, to comment on that, Ms. Behringer, the entities that engage in strategic planning, whether it's private sector or public sector, you will find that what becomes pervasive in the entity, whether it's a private business or a public entity, is much longer range thinking. And that will weave its way into the budget process actually fairly quickly. Budgets will be not only about today's balancing of the assets and liabilities or the revenues and expenditures. It will be about, are we making decisions to put us in a position to achieve the success we've defined that we desire. And let me give you an example for the state of Wisconsin, which does not engage in strategic planning. We work real hard as a state. We put our heads down And we work on these numbers on the revenues and these numbers on the expenditures, and we deal with today's problems, and we budget and we Band-Aid and we rubber band and we paste and we put together a budget, and it balances on paper. We do that. And then we pop our heads up and find out, wow, it's 2 years later. Well, let's get back at it and do another budget that balances those 2 years. But we're not positioning ourselves for future success. And we've had a lot of years of that. We're actually, I think, in some small way, maybe a medium way, doing a little bit more of the visioning right now as a state. But previously, not quite so much. But we still haven't engaged in a true strategic visioning effort. Here's another example, and I've offered this to the state. I think we ought to look at, as a state, and we could do this locally as well. As a state, we ought to look at the kinds of industries that are on the cutting edge. And here's how we would do this. We would get a whole host of smart people in the room. Government folks, academics, futurists, trends analysts, demographers, a bunch of business people, a bunch of smart people. And we would talk about what is going to happen in society in 5, 10, 20, 50 years. And we would identify, let's say, 10 industries that are going to emerge in the next 20 years. We would take those 10 industries and match them up against whatever sort of assets we think we have now. We might narrow it down to, let's say, 7, where we think we're somewhat well positioned. Then I would say we ought to take 2 or 3 of those and start in our educational facilities educating the people that are going to need, with a skill set, that are going to be ready for the industry that's going to emerge tomorrow. And of those 3 industries, we'll be wrong on 2 of them, but we'll be right on 1 of them. And we'll be the capital of the battery, nanotechnology, storage devices woven into clothing industry. We'll be that leader. In fact, and where is that leader? Where is that? In today's society, that nanotechnology, battery storage devices woven into clothing, that could be in Waushara County. There is no reason it couldn't be. That can be anywhere. Unlike 50 years ago, where it took a long time for businesses to relocate because of all the resources, the number one resource for private sector success today and tomorrow is not water, it's not steel, it's not paper pulp, it is smart people. We need young, smart people to feed the private sector industry, and we want the private sector to do really, really well. We want the private sector to just explode, because when that happens, you disperse the tax base. If you don't change the rate, you raise additional revenues that you as a county or city, town, village, school district, you can invest back into the community to make it attractive to the very thing that smart young people want, an attractive community. When we ask smart young people, what is it you desire? When they list out the whole list of things, 80% of what smart young people desire are things that government funds. If we want to attract those smart young talent tomorrow, we got to invest in our communities. And in order to do that, we need a vibrant private sector. That's part of what we would talk about in a strategic planning effort. And there's hours of conversation that would go into each element of this. And if you don't want to participate and don't have the time, I understand that. We'll come to you with the summary. We'll come to you with the shortened version. Diane and Mike and Darcy and I, we'll go through all the hours of it. But we'll give you the executive summary 15-minute version if you like. But if you are interested and you want to go through the multiple-hour version, that's great. The more the merrier. The better it will be. But those are the kinds of things that we would discuss and we would talk about. And it has to fit what you want. I can't tell you what you want. I might have my vision for Waushara County, but I don't live here. So, quite frankly, my vision doesn't matter. But if I can assist you in helping shape what your vision is, great. That we can assist you. That's what Diane does for a living. That's her profession. So she's very good at it. And she's able to get out of you what kind of a community you desire. She will.
I want to share something about, you talked about department heads. In Calumet County right now, they're engaging in their planning process. So all the department heads, in conjunction with the county board members, are working on it together. And I have to tell you, it's sort of an interesting meeting of the minds, because each group sits in a little bit different place, and it's been a great process. But, they decided to come together because they have some real challenges. They have rapidly expanding urban areas in a county that's been beautifully rural for a long time, and they don't know how to handle that. So they decided to get their hands around that and say, what are we going to do about this, and what do we really want? How are we going to allow for some of these things to happen? And if we're going to continue to have urban sprawl, then we're going to have it in the way that we want it to be. I mean, you got 600 some acres and no town or city more than a couple thousand people. If you want to preserve that, then I would say you need to get on that right now. You've got zillions of lakes, best trout fishing in the area. If you want to preserve that, then you have to plan for that. So these are some of the things that you can do in a planning process that are real day-to-day things that you know about your community, and you get to decide how you want that to be. So it's been really interesting to watch the department heads and the board work together in a really syncopatic way. It's been kind of fun. So I just wanted to share that because of your comment.
You know, one of the ways strategic planning fails is if you don't have an energy base, an energy source in locally to make it go forward. You've already overcome that because I've talked with some of your department heads. You've obviously been talking about it for some time. You have that energy source already. You have people interested in talking about the future. So if we already have that, then we might ask ourselves, well, what's the negative? What's the downside? What's the danger in strategic planning? If you're aware of one, I would like to know, because I don't think there is. There is no downside. There is no negative. There is no danger. There are no landmines. There's no potholes. I mean, we have potholes, but not in strategic planning. There is no downside to that. There's nothing bad is going to happen. Only good things can happen. Now, you will not, whatever plan you come up with, you will not accomplish everything in that plan. I mean, it's the standard. If a person accomplishes 10 to 15% in any particular strategic plan, you're above the average. But it provides you a vision, a blueprint, a direction for where you're going. It will guide your decisions as you try to move to the type of community you desire. Other questions, thoughts, comments? Yeah, when I look at the board, one of the ways I get votes in the legislature is that I keep talking until they say yes. So I give up and then I leave.
Any other questions for Mr. O'Connell? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next presentation that we have is Zoning and Land Conservation Department Annual Report. Department Director Terry Pockstead.
Hi.
Gave everybody a report.
Yep. I'm going to run down the highlights for 2013. We assembled all the numbers as quickly as we could. And we kind of leveled out in 2013 with 2012. I think you'll remember 2008 was a real banner year. And then we kind of dropped off in 2009, and 2010 and 2011 were kind of like the bottom. And we came back last year, and we're pretty even. And I hope that that means that we kind of stay there, that it's more slow or steady growth rather than those rampant growth that we had in the mid-2000s, and then obviously when things dropped out. That had our department do 1,100 field visits to various properties around the county. We did 232 sanitary system inspections, 19 on-site soil verifications, about 500 code non-compliance investigations. We're trying to be friendlier and not call them violations because they don't all end up being violations, but that's what we used to call them in case you're wondering what that is. 213 landowner requested information visits, and we assigned 61 new address numbers. Back to those code non-compliance inquiries, there were 281 made to our office, and of those, plus some from previous years, 271 are now brought into compliance, and we have 132 that are still pending. We are sending out mandatory septic system maintenance notices regularly as required by the state, and this year we sent out 2,348. We did have to send out 51 citations after that, but our overall compliance rate is more than 99.8%. And the Wisconsin Fund Grant Program is still there, and we were able to get money for 4 property owners for a total of $17,842, and that's for replacement of septic systems that are contaminating groundwater. Staff also works on 18 non-metallic mining sites, and there's just over 214 unreclaimed or active acres in Waushara County. We do collect inspection fees for that and send some of that to the state, and we kept $3,165. And about 1.5 acres was actually reclaimed in 2013. Most of our sites are active, so we don't get a lot of reclamation, but we did have 1.5 acres reclaimed last year. We're also working on the Lakes Management Grant. We're into phase 3, and we started writing lake management plans. The plan is to get 8 plans written in about the next year for 32 of our lakes with public access. And so we took in over $46,000. Some of that we do send on to outside contractors at UW-Stevens Point, but we do keep a portion of that. Soil and Water Resource Management Program, we got almost $49,000 for landowners working on those projects. They're usually the larger ones and have more environmental impact. And then we also got, because we kind of scavenged around to other counties that weren't spending all the money, over $32,000 for nutrient management last year, and it's going to cover over 1,100 acres. And that's significantly more than we had done in the previous year. The Water Quality Improvement Program, you might remember, is something that the county board approved, spending $25,000 of county money on projects that didn't quite rank high enough to secure those dwindling federal and state funds. And we're doing that for a 3-year trial period. We will have to evaluate that for next year's budget. Each of the last 2 years, we signed 7 contracts for that, and we're able to help fund projects that, again, weren't as quite as environmentally damaging, but certainly secured natural resources goals in those 7 projects that are smaller. We partner with Golden Sands RC&D in both the Aquatic Invasive Species Program, and they do provide, in conjunction with us, groundwater education for 4th graders in all Waushara County schools. Wildlife damage claims is another program that we're involved with the DNR and APHIS, and we did get 9 landowners' crop damage claims this year. It's exactly the same number of claimants as the previous year, but crop damage was up, so that amount went up quite a bit. We had our 7th annual Conservation Field Days last May for all of Waushara County's 5th graders. Over 200 students attend that. It is really a very well-received event. The teachers love it. The kids really seem to like it. It's something that we hope to continue to do to introduce kids to the outdoors. And it's coming up again May 15th or 16th, and if anyone would like to herd 5th graders around Camp Lucerne and learn a lot about conservation and the environment and spend the day outside, please contact our office and we'd be happy to sign you up. We also manage construction site erosion control in the county, and we did provide assistance to 187 landowners. That required 46 on-site visits to actually look at the projects on-site because there was some special concerns, and we also wrote 9 detailed plans for individual landowners. IIL Independent Inspections is our current contracted inspection agency for UDC and commercial projects, and they issued permits for 57 new homes, 81 commercial structures, 72 additions to homes, 139 electrical inspections or upgrades, and 80 miscellaneous permits. And that resulted in over $117,000 in fees collected, and we do get to keep a portion of that for administration and supplying them office space and some other stuff. Our office for zoning permits issued 421 zoning permits, which was for 169 new homes or additions to homes and 252 accessory structures. We've really been on a garage building binge the last couple of years. I've been kind of surprised. We also issued 149 sanitary permits, and that was basically for 36 new septic systems and 113 replacements or reconnects. Once again, I'm happy to report we've been able to keep our budget at 0 without decreasing staff or hours, and so far we haven't increased. hope to continue to provide a high level of service to all of our Waushara County citizens. And if any of you have any questions at any time about any of our programs, please feel free to stop in or call our office and get your questions answered. We'd be more than happy to do that. So is there...
Anybody have any questions for Terry? Dennis or Lynn? Okay, thank you very much, Terry. Next presentation, Parks Solid Waste Annual Report, Superintendent Scott Schumann.
Thanks for having me here tonight. Almost feel like I'm preaching to the choir. Just about half of the people here have been on my controlling committee over the years, so I hope I don't bore those people. I think we'll start out by taking a look at the personnel in the Waushara County Parks Department. Right now, the Parks Department has got a Parks Foreman and I should say Solid Waste Foreman, and those actually are the only two full-time people in each program. My time is split between the two programs. We also have a part-time secretary, and each foreman has got a technician, less than 600 hours. And then we also use part-time help in the summer, and then we have part-time site attendants at the collection sites. Our budgets for the two programs are split into 6 different things: the parks budget, the snowmobile budget, advertising and promotion, solid waste planning, recycling, and clean sweep. The main 2 budgets are the parks budget and the solid waste planning budget. The snowmobile budget is basically a pass-through from the state to the clubs. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
The scope of what we do in parks is we maintain 10 different parks and 2 different natural areas. The natural areas are the George Sorensen Natural Area and the Beeler Natural Area at Rattlesnake Creek. We also maintain the fairgrounds and the Bannerman Trail. The fairgrounds is maintained basically 11 months of the year. The fair itself has got a one month lease that we have with them on an annual basis. So we take care of the property and work with the Fair Association on projects and upkeep on the fair. They actually run the fair. On the solid waste side, we've got 9 collection sites, and we also have, in the last few years, we've had a drop-off for some universal waste at our office, and basically that's electronics and oil filters and antifreeze, things that we've been collecting pay as you go. Some of the highlights in 2012 on the park side were 61 park reservations and 44 fairgrounds reservations. And these numbers are actually down a little bit, and what we're seeing is the actual park usage is up, but the reservations are down. So it's less formal use, less family reunions and that sort of thing. There's some things that need to be clicked up there. Projects as far as on the park side, we've been doing a lot of work recently on cross-country ski trails and hiking trails, and what we're finding is these are some of the most popular and most cost-effective projects that we've worked on recently. It seems like there's been a uptick in more fitness and exercise and nature study. We've also we also had a fairly large timber harvest on the Mount Morris property after the large storm, Labor Day 2011. What we did is we took care of storm damaged material and started to cut some over-mature aspen on the property, along with a thin at Willow Creek on the old Christmas tree plantation. Okay, we used a lot of that, or a good portion of that money in the park itself. We did a fair amount of large ticket maintenance items, for instance, roofs on buildings and things like that. Go ahead. The snowmobile program every year is basically the same. I act as a liaison between the state and the 13 clubs that actually do the work on the ground. I take care of auditing the books, filling out the paperwork, and cutting the checks each year. I also maintain the conditions, open and closed on the phone and the websites. This year, we also started working on GPS for a more accurate snowmobile map. Advertising and promotion each year, we maintain the 9 welcome signs that are on the state highway crossings at the county lines. We attend the Milwaukee Sports Show each year. We maintain the county rec map and at least 9 promotional brochures. And I left a envelope at each one of your desks that has an example of each of the brochures that we maintain. We also maintain the website for our department, and we are working with Deb to do some improvements on that website. And then we also respond to tourist inquiries via email and telephone. For solid waste in 2012, we had a little over 12,000 tons of solid waste collected, which is actually down slightly from 2011. Some of the projects that we did to make it more convenient for the public was to put in LED security lighting to replace metal halide. That helped us reduce some electric costs and maintenance costs. And then we did some concrete surfacing for the recycling area to make it more convenient. The recycling budget for 2012 showed a little over 1,200 tons of glass, tin, aluminum, and plastic from our sites, and that was actually up slightly. Also, over 31 tons of electronics. And this is a fairly new program in response to the state electronics landfill ban. And we, again, are collecting those at our office, and we do have user fees. And the program has been fairly successful. And then we also collected a little over 10,000 gallons of used motor oil. And then finally, the Clean Sweep program. We've been working with Waupaca County for the last few years, and they've been running a daily program at their PTF facility in the town of Little Wolf. And what we actually do there is we run a fee-based program where people that come in pay as you go, and we work with Waupaca County and write grants and try to actually get a state grant to reduce the amount that the folks that come in there have to pay. I guess end of report, unless anybody's got any questions.
I have one, Scott.
Okay.
You had up there something about hazardous things such as paints, varnishes, and so on.
Right.
We have no collection spot in Waushara County for that?
We don't. We've been working with Waupaca County for the last few years. We did have a one-day event a few years ago, and we actually had 3 of them on an annual basis. And what we found out is people now want a place to go immediately, okay, and they don't want to wait for that one-day program, or else after that one-day program we'll get a call and somebody wants to know where they go with that material. And at this time, it's been fairly successful with Waupaca County.
The facility in Coloma really is nice, since you fixed that up. So. Any questions for Scott?
Can I add something?
Sure.
Board show is March 5th through the 9th, 5 days, and I'm still looking for people to come and help me sit down there.
I have 1 day filled, I believe, and there are 4 other days that I could use people. Anybody that wants to go.
Your mileage is paid, but that's all. You have to take care of your own lunch. So just contact me or contact Scott if you can make it. Ticket is free. And what I do is I make sure that you have plenty of time to get around and see the show. But it also gives me a break if I have to run to the little boy's room or something like that. I can have time to do it. It's hard to do it all by yourself, and so this helps me out. And I would really like people from the county, supervisors or whatever. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Everett.
And Scott's department is currently running a photo contest, and it's part 2, I think, is what Ellis called as Winter Wonderland is this week, and submission will be made to Scott's department by March 8th.
Okay, that ends our presentations. Next thing on the agenda is discussion of possible action items. Motion to accept the list of emergency fire wardens as provided by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. You have that in your packet. Motion to approve. Motion made by Bob, seconded by Larry. Any, Crawford, yes. Any questions or discussion on this? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next will be resolutions. Consider and possible action on the following resolutions and ordinances.
Resolution 1-1-14. Resolution recognizing Sheriff David R. Peterson service to Waushara County.
Dennis?
I will speak after the motion is.
Need a motion to put this on the... Motion made by Everett. Seconded by Larry Crawford. Discussion, please.
No, I'd just like to say a few things. I'm the representative in the section that Sheriff Peterson lives. I think he's done a really good job as a sheriff. I know we haven't always seen eye to eye with him on some different issues. I think he deserves compliments for all the hard work he put in, all the advances he did for the department. I think he's had a lot of hard work invested in this. I'm sorry that he feels as he does. I feel he still needs to be commended for what he did. And I'm really looking forward to seeing other projects move forward, especially emergency medical dispatch. And that's one of the things that I think that can make our county a much better county, having that. Having said that, I just still wish to wish him a happy retirement, and that's about it.
Been a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this?
I made the motion because I agree 100% with that. I don't, whether he wants to be thanked or not, I think.
Okay. Anything else? It's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next resolution.
Resolution 2-1-14, create a full-time position of Chief Deputy Sheriff for Waushara County.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I move to approve.
Motion made by Dennis Weddy. Second by Bernadette Krantz. Discussion, please.
I guess a few years ago, we had taken the full-time chief deputy position and made that a lieutenant position and made the chief deputy part-time. And now the department is asking that we go back to the way we were doing it, and so they are eliminating one lieutenant position and asking for a full-time chief deputy instead. So it's not another person, it's just going back to the way it had structured before.
How does this affect the monies?
It shouldn't be that big of a difference. It should be pretty close to a wash, yes.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 3-1-14, resolution establishing coroner report fees.
Motion to approve. Motion made by Bob Wadle, seconded by Larry Crawford. Discussion, please.
Basically, we had a request, the coroner came to, the Public Safety Committee and advised us that he has been getting, multiple requests per year, and it's increasing from attorneys seeking reports from the coroner related to, deaths that he has been to and autopsies and things like that. It's taking a significant amount of time. We don't have a full-time coroner, or our coroner is not paid based on salary. He is based per call, is what he gets paid. So he did some checking around with some other counties and looked at what they were charging for their, reports, and presented that to the Public Safety Committee. What the Public Safety Committee is recommending is that we charge this fee for the report, and then, $60 per report. It would all be deposited with the, treasurer's office, but then we would voucher half of that amount back to the coroner to give him a little bit additional income for the work that he's doing for us, since he's not a salaried employee.
Any questions or any other? Yes, Larry.
Is there a fee now?
No, there's not. This is establishing one.
How was he compensated for then?
He's compensated on a per call basis, but he's not compensated for any of these reports that he's
Okay.
being asked to do.
Some of the reports have gotten quite lengthy.
So it's basically increasing it for the reports.
Yep.
Okay, yep.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance number 572, ordinance amending Washera County zoning maps pursuant to the authority granted in Chapter 58 Washera County Code. Zone change, Jeffrey Good, Town of Richford.
Motion made by Larry Crawford, seconded by Bob Wadle. Any discussion?
Can I ask Bob a question?
You bet.
He's contacted the town board?
Yeah, they appeared before the town board and told us what they're up to, and it's more of a, it's easier for zoning that he changed it instead of getting a variance. So that's why we had no problem with it, and he's talked to the neighbors, he had said, so we see no problem with the town, so.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance number 573, establish speed zone on County Trunk Highway H, Town of Leon, Washera County.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move to approve.
Second. Motion made by Dennis Weddy, seconded by Russell. Discussion or questions on this? Dennis?
I just talked to Chris Sorensen, who's a farmer that lives right along Highway H there, in the area that's in question, and right on the edge of Pine River. And he is very pleased that we're considering moving the westerly boundary for the speed limit away because of the size of the machines. Now he has to pull out in the road, and there's a slight hill there coming in, and cars coming in pretty fast. It creates a dangerous situation. So I think it's a really good idea that we go ahead and approve that ordinance.
I discussed it also with Chris Sorensen. He said he's been working with Tom Dalkey for quite a while to get this approved for extension of that 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, so he will appreciate it very much.
Any other further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance number 574, an ordinance requiring parcel identification number.
Motion made by Joe. Seconded by Larry Crawford. Discussion, please.
Basically, Heather had come to me and she had asked if we had an ordinance that required when there was any conveyance of land that the parcel identification number be on the conveyance document. We did not. The statute says that if the county wants to require it, there has to be an ordinance, and Heather is asking that we do require it because it makes it easy for her tracking and her indexing.
Any questions for Ruth? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Board suggestions for future Agenda items?
Yes, I'd like to see us put back on the agenda a discussion concerning the location of an EMS headquarters for a shop in Hancock.
Okay.
Is it acceptable if it goes to that committee first before it comes back to the board? Okay.
Any other suggestions or anything? I'd like to,
I have a question. Are you at all interested in having a discussion about the strategic planning and being part of it? Is that something that you want to talk about as a board? Is it something that you want the department heads to continue to talk about? I don't know if you want it on the agenda or what you want us to do, or.
That way we can discuss it more than
in the next month, the,
Okay.
some of the.
Okay.
I'd like some more information too from the department heads concerning it.
Okay.
What kind of information would you like,
Anytime.
Dennis? What's
Just
it?
any kind,
Anything?
Just
Okay.
what would,
just feedback.
feedback, and what do you think would work, what not work, and so on.
Okay.
Feedback from the department heads. is
Yes.
what you're- Anything else? I'd like to thank all the people that spoke here tonight. Motion made by Everett, seconded by Dennis to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?